Hi everyone, this is video number 4 in the mental strengths training workshops. And today we're going to look at your goals and wishes. Now it's really interesting. Sometimes when I say the word goals, people will generally have two reactions. Either one of two reactions. Either you know exactly what you want to do and you're like, okay, yep, I've got this sorted. I want to be doing this, this, and this, and in this many years, and these are the steps I'm going to put in place. Or you look at me and go, oh, I'm just not sure. I really have so many things I'm interested in, but it just doesn't feel like I've found the thing that I'm really interested in, that I want to pursue further. And some of you will fall into a little bit in between those two camps, but no matter where you are, hopefully what you'll find with this little mini workshop is that it will give you the opportunity to either make some deeper reflections on what it is that you want to be working towards, what you wish for, what you're aiming for, or just, give you some food for thought. So I like the idea of thinking about goals in different periods, long-term goals, medium-term goals, and short-term goals. And often if we're talking about long-term, I'm thinking at least 5 years in the future. Medium-term, maybe 1 to 2 years. Short-term, maybe a month to 3 months. Okay, so thinking about how you're using time with your goals. So how do we know what our goals are? How do we know what we're really focusing on? Some of you will have come across the model that I've used with some of you in workshops, and I want to take a little bit more time to share with you how you can use this in respect to developing your goals. So the Be, Do, Have, Give model. A lot of the time we think about what we want to have. We think about the idea that we're focusing on having a certain outcome or goal in place and what it's going to bring us. So it might be a course that you've decided on, and that will give you this certain qualification, for example. But we don't think about all the things that we have to put in place in order to have that outcome, okay, in order to have the thing. So I encourage you to take a few steps back, firstly. And the images I've used here, I've consciously used ideas that are working toward someone who wants to participate in some sort of running event, okay, run a certain distance perhaps. So, for example, you don't just wake up one day and say, I want to have run a marathon by the end of next week. Okay, well, you could do that, but it's not going to be very helpful, is it? You have to think about all the things that you need to put in place. So, firstly, I encourage you to think about who is the person that you want to be. And that sounds very abstract and a little ambiguous at the moment. So let me give you a little bit more detail there. And I encourage you to, if you don't have a pen and paper with you, pause the video so you can write stuff down once you have pen and paper. So what do you want to feel like? Okay, what do you want to, what kind of self-image do you want to actually work towards developing? Do you see yourself as someone who is, you want to feel a sense of pride in the fact that you're a hard worker? Okay. Do you want to see a sense of pride in that you're actually able to be persistent in how you go about things? Is it about being an open-minded individual and learning new things? What kinds of thinking do you want to put in place? Now, if you've done some strengths work, maybe you think about what your strengths are as well. But one way of looking at this in our visual of working toward running a race, firstly, if you want to achieve anything in terms of running, you have to be someone who wants to get up and get out. Now, I've used the idea of getting up in the morning because that's consistent with the other photos that I have. But need to see yourself as someone who is a person who is going to take the steps to do the uncomfortable things, perhaps in working towards becoming the runner or whatever it is there. So that step, the being, is all about your thinking. It's about acknowledging what beliefs are helping you, what's hindering you, what's blocking you, what some of your resources are that will help you have beliefs that take you forward. Where are you making choices? And often we'll make choices that actually stop us from having the things that we want to have. And then we wonder, oh, well, why don't I have those things? So the B is about the internal environment, your thinking, and some of those other aspects of how we use our mind and perceive our world. So the second part is the doing. This is about action, okay? If the being is about understanding why it's important, the doing is, well, what steps are you going to take? What are you prepared to actually put in place to have a certain outcome? Now, you're not going to run a significant race without training, without looking after yourself. Perhaps you need to have a coach. Perhaps you have someone who will work with you to help guide you. There are all sorts of things that you can put in place. And in terms of developing your goals, maybe it's about thinking, well, what are some of the strategies that I can use to help me either understand what's important to me? And I suggest going back to the previous workshop about values and needs as a starting place there. But also think about the people, the network of people that you have around you. Sometimes we default to what we already know, and that's really normal. But if you're willing to expand your horizons a little bit further and be resourceful in terms of seeking out different ideas, different opportunities, just be really curious in what's out there, what's possible, then you'll no doubt find other things that might come across your gaze there. So that's in terms of what it is that you can do in respect to having those goals become more solidified. Now, in terms of the final or the second last aspect there, the have is something that you probably already focused on. Okay, so you probably already know or have already been used to focusing on that aspect. What is the outcome that you're actually working toward? Now, if you don't have a clear goal set yet, maybe the have is what you've been focusing on when you could have been focusing on who you want to be and some of the strategies that you're willing to put in place to work out what it is that you want to have. But if you already have the goals sort of set in place, then maybe you're also ready for that final step in terms of how are you going to then give to others? Okay, how are you going to pay it forward? So that's a little bit further down the line. Hopefully you found this helpful in terms of solidifying some of the elements of not only developing goals, but thinking about ways of achieving them. Now, of course, sometimes it is actually about giving yourself some time, some space, some grace to simply dream. Sometimes it's about allowing yourself to have the ability just to allow your mind to wonder what's possible. So I encourage you to allow yourself some space. If you're still trying to work out what some of those longer term goals are, then give yourself the space to actually do some of that brainstorming and dreaming. So we'll leave it there for now. And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to call me. Keep curious in the meantime. Take care.